Hey guys, and welcome to a replay between two legendary warriors. On the left hand side we have Lokir Felhard up against Lycan Lupin on the right hand side, representing Clan BBB. And it looks like the High Elves have marched out from their towers of Hoeth and marching on the forces of the Beastmen. Should be a really good fun matchup. And it looks like the High Elves taking a little bit of inspiration from Lord Theoden, or King Theoden I should say, and going rather cavalry heavy. The battle is going to get underway straight away, so let's slow this down and quickly go through the build before the battle does fully engage. We have a couple of units of Illyrian Reavers, one of which is the Heralds of the Wind, regiment of renowned Illyrian Reaver archers, and these guys are disgustingly fast with 105 speed. There is simply no way the Beastmen forces are going to catch them. I've cursed them now, so they're probably going to get caught at some point. We have a ton of Silver Helms well dotted along the front line, and on this right hand side was a little bit of an overload. Now, Silver Helms are pretty much as good as you need up against the Beastmen. Cavalry in general does really lovely shock damage to them, and Silver Helms are indeed shock cavalry, coming in at a rather decent cost as well compared to such things as Dragon Princes. And on the left hand side we have more Silver Helms, as well as, speak of the devils, the Dragon Princes. These guys, bad to the bones elite warriors. Nice to have a mix of them in there with the Silver Helms, but I do indeed enjoy the more mid-tier infantry in this matchup. We have Spearmen dotted along the front line, just there to hold the line and basically pin in the enemy troops, be the anvil, for the cav to be the hammer, and we have double rangers. Now, rangers are some dual-wielding elven maniacs who will better carve through the Beastmen forces relatively well. Apart from that, leadership-wise, we do have a Mage of Life, kind of Shield of Thorns and Earthblood, and leading the force, of course, it is Tyrion. You can't have a horse-themed build without the horseman himself, and he is disgustingly fast up on his mighty steed here. Coming in at 95 speed. He also has all of his abilities and buffs. Sunfang, the faint one as well, which is actually a really nice plus melee attack, defense, and physical resistance. And of course, he is going to be kind of the Heart of Avalon. There's that nice burst of health. Unfortunately, never seems to activate at the right time. He normally breaks before it doesn't do anything. For the force of the Beastmen, we have Blackhorn Ravengers, as well as Ungor Spearherds, and a ton of Goreherds dotted along the front line. We've seen a lot of these guys recently. It looks like he has gone for the shielded variety to help deal with the missile pressure, with the Destroyers of Drakwold as well on this right-hand flank. In the main force, we do have Ungor Raiders, and it looks like a bit of a Minotaur core. Hell yeah! This is what I love to see. We have Minotaurs with great weapons, as well as a Gorbel here, the big pupper of the Minotaurs. And he certainly packs a huge punch. He can get punted around a little bit. We have Chaos Spawn. We have the Gorok's Man Rippers, regiment of renowned Bestigor Herds, a unit you don't get to see terribly often, but pretty elite, anti-large, armor-piercing, bad to the bones, always good to see them in a scrap. We have the Brave Shaman of Wild coming in with the Cygor Summon, as well as Viletide. I'm a big fan of Viletide, especially the Overcast variety. And we have Morga the Shadow Gave being bodyguarded by some Chaos Spawn, which makes perfect sense, as they are kind of, one of a kind. These guys, two peas in a rather mutated pod. He's coming in with Stave of Ruinous Corruption, as well as Spirit Essence of Chaos. Basically, get all those Chaos Spawn summons where possible. Summon with this Brave Shaman, and hopefully the Gorok's Man Rippers will do the rest. And it looks like we're going to see a very early Cygor summon here, looking to trade with the enemy at long range, and this is going to be a very micro-intensive build for the High Elves. Silver Helms do come crashing into the Blackhorn Ravengers before falling back, not taking too much damage. Lovely charge from them there, and Silver Helms darting to and fro, although the Gorbel and his Minotaur bros come in here and almost nipping at the heels of those Silver Helms. Big Cygor shots coming in, trying to go after the skirmish cavalry of the High Elves. Not a terrible idea, as it is going to be their only answer. This is quite a heavy metal Beastmen build, not too many skirmishers on their side. Gorbels and Minotaurs and Chaos Spawns all pummeling this unit of Rangers, and the front line of the High Elves is going to crumble incredibly quickly. Minotaurs pushing out to this flank in order to support the Blackhorn Ravengers. Silver Helm's going to struggle to get out of here now that with the new changes to mass recently. Cav builds like this can be struggle a little bit more. Silver Helms have darted out onto the Destroyers of Drakwold and are destroying them pretty well. Maybe want to cycle charge though, which is brilliant play by the High Elves, just what they're doing, because of course they are getting poisoned with that anti-large. Dragon Princes as well were considering roaming into the back line, so instead they're going to hammer home on these Goreherds in the back line. They can then bounce, disengage, bounce back in, hammer this unit back as well, and start munching through the front line troops. Brave Shaman does overextend massively here, and it looks like the Silver Helms as well as Tyrion does manage to deal with them. And in the middle of all this madness, we have an epic heroic duel. Tyrion versus the Gorbel. Mighty Beast versus Mighty Elf. And it looks like the Gorbel coming out on top with some cleaving strikes onto Tyrion, really showing him who is the master. Minotaurs are great weapons, doing absolutely fantastic on this flank, whittling down the Silver Helms, but it looks like there is some good pressure coming in from the Illyrian Reavers. Heralds of the Wind as well being used to escort away that British Shaman. Brilliant play there by the High Elves. Good micro by both so far, although the Gorbel is just giving it to Tyrion. I'm very surprised. Tyrion as well, dishing it back, but for points-wise, the Gorbel is in very fantastic here. Over in the far reaches of the battlefield, Gorok's Man Rippers did push off some Silver Helms and can now rear charge these Spearmen to try and break them up. Dragon Princes as well were kind of just out of their grasp. And a really lovely play by the Heralds of the Wind here, just whittling down those Minotaurs over time. Probably going to be getting some good value on these guys by the end, already up to 500 value. But the mighty Tyrion is struggling heavily now. So it looks like the Gorbel has indeed pulled back to help assist the front line and hunt down those Dragon Princes. I think a bit of a mistake. I'd really pummel Tyrion where possible, but it looks like Morga's going to be able to do the job for him. Chaos Spawn have surrounded him. Morga, Minotaurs. It's looking a little rough for the defender of Ulthuan there. Elsewhere, those Silver Helms trying to dart in and find a good location, but both Chaos Spawn summons are on the field at this point. The Heart of Avalon does pop for Tyrion, so he's getting that massive boost to his health, but his leadership may struggle, and that's kind of the problem with that ability. Chaos Spawn do dart in here to try to intercept the Dragon Princes, who are getting healed up by a Mage of Life, and a Shield of Thorns going down instead. Ungar Raid is not going to be doing too much damage to them there. Gorbel trying to come over and assist. Looks like the Minotaurs have been forced off, and somehow Tyrion has held the line and is now pushing down Morga, trampling him in the dirt. Chaos Spawn Summon will eventually dissipate as well and disappear into the ether. Gorbel, though, is getting some good value over here, so I can't blame him too much. And now he's trying to hunt down that Mage of Life booty, which would be a really good kind of grab for him. But that one Silver Helm pulled him back there. Comes in with a flying roly-poly, and he's really starting to hack down this Mage of Life quite quickly. She needs to escape, and it looks like the High Elf player knows this. Going to be darting in with some Dragon Princes to surround the Gorbel and allow her to escape. Brilliant bait and switch there. These Gorok's Man Rippers really need to try and saturate on top of this Gorbel and make a glorious stand. Down here, Tyrion's still struggling. Those Spawn have been around for a considerable amount of time at this point. Surrounding him, beating him down. Of course, he barely has any healing left. Very low health-wise, down to 1,000. And Morga is certainly no joke. Despite the big old fat flaming sword, Tyrion does not do flaming damage. And of course, flame damage would be good against the region there. Underworld Raiders being mopped up by some Spearmen, and that Mage of Life is just juking back and forth, escaping the Gorbel wherever possible. And brilliant play by the Beastmen player, dragging these Gorok's Man Rippers and getting them on the Gorbel. They need to fight together wherever possible, because the only things in this build that can really hurt the Gorbel at this point is, of course, the Cavalry cycle charging. The Man Rippers counter that. Heralds of the Wind are getting pummeled here by a summoned Cygor in the distance, but the Cygors all round are kind of being used in range, which is a good way of using them, but up against so much Cavalry, it might have been worth propping them down to try and finish off Tyrion or something at a different moment, but still good use of them all around. It looks like Tyrion has indeed run for the hills here. He's getting pretty low health-wise, just down to 500, which is pretty pitiful, and Morgul Shadowglaive is going to be hunting him down. Gorok's Man Rippers are taking a lot of damage from the Heralds of the Wind, who've used up pretty much all their ammunition. 940 damage value is pretty impressive as well. They've still got a lot to give with their speed to chase down routing troops. Looks like the Beastmen are going to try to blob up for the most part, which is both a good and a bad thing here. I don't think we've seen a Sunfang yet, so if Tyrion can come in, pin these guys in place and get a big fat Sunfang down the line, he can be in with a good shout. But the balance power heavily in favour of the Beastmen at the moment, and it is looking very bleak. Silver Helm's running away here, Dragon Princes as well, not too shabby. 146 kills on them is very impressive, some lovely damage dealt and damage value, but down to 25 models, and that Gorbel is bounding his way in. Someone mentioned in a video recently his axe is certainly very well unbalanced, but I suppose the Gorbel is a big lad, he doesn't care too much. For the most part, the High Elves are retreating, sacrificing units in at the moment into the meat grinder in the form of the Silver Helms, but also chasing, shattering down all those routing Beastmen troops, trying to drag that balance power back as much as possible. And it's only really that bad because of the health of Tyrion compared to Morga. Morga, of course, is going to be regenerating health the longer this game goes on, however, and the High Elves are out of ammunition at this point. A lovely hill, though. Dragon Prince is being held up, Silver Helms, Tyrion as well, up to his last tiny inklings of health. But is it going to be enough? I'm not so sure. There is 71 Gorok's Man Rippers alive, plus the Gorbel. That's scary stuff. Tyrion is going straight for the Gorbel, it seems. He's got relatively low health at this point. Dragon Princes as well, trying to pop on top of him. Man Rippers are kind of on the left-hand side, so really not a bad play at all. And oh no, we have a Sunfang coming down on top of the Man Rippers. They come in at 4,600 health. Boom! boom, all the way down to 3,900. But more importantly, it does rout all these supporting destroyers and ungors, leaving the Man Rippers alone. It looks like the Gorbel did go down here as well, slain by the ferocious Tyrion, or at least fled from the field. And all of a sudden, the Beastmen just have no army left. Everything routed. Gork's Man Rippers trying to hold firm with Morga the Shadowgave. They have to stay on top of each other at this point, because the Man Rippers are now taking lance and charges in the rear from the Dragon Princes, and they're completely surrounded. And yes, they're good in these engagements, but, you know, surrounded by so many foes, it's still going to break them. They're Beastmen. They do not have the best leadership, although it looks like more Gore herds have shattered as well, and somehow the Elves are standing firm, seeing the bravery of Tyrion, but he's now getting pounded down to just 900 health. Morga will be able to outduel him in this current state. Gorok's Man Rip is having a whale of a time on the Silver Helms at this point. It looks like the Mage of Life is being currently chased by the Brave Shaman, a bit of the Benny Hill theme music playing there. The Gorok's Man Rip is really struggling as constant cycle charging from both sides from the Knights is really obliterating these guys. A big fat Volatile goes down, but it seems to do almost more damage to the Man Rippers. Actually, no more Spearmen and Silver Helms, but the Man Rippers took a bit of damage, which they're not going to be big fans of with such low leadership at this point. But an Earth Blood goes down. That is so clutch from the Mage of Life at this point. The Brave Shaman has charged into glorious hand-to-hand combat with the Silver Helms in an attempt to break them, but the Man Rippers are breaking themselves. Still 27 models on these guys. They need to stay and fight if the Beastmen want to drag down all these Knights. And all of a sudden, huge breaks on both sides. Bye-bye goes the Man Rippers as well as the Destroyers, but equally the Silver Helms are fleeing for the High Elf forces. Brave Shaman needs to come in and support Morga at this point. Balance power is now pretty much dead even, in fact slightly once again in favour of the High Elves. Tyrion is using his speed to chase down the Brave Shaman, and he should be able to finish him off and kill him. And if he does that, he can rally these other troops to come back, and it's going to be Morga against the world. Can he do it? So often when Beastmen bring him, he is the last bastion of strength. But yeah, Tyrion has managed to break up the Brave Shaman. He himself is down to just 570 health, so he probably wants to stay away from this engagement for as long as possible, and at best cycle charge in, as Morga's morale isn't the greatest at the moment. 2,000 hit points, not the greatest armor piercing on him to drag his way through. The Dragon Princes, who have gone triple chevrons here, up to 2.4k damage value, 17,000 damage dealt. Looks like he's going to leave the Mage of Life in combat just to try and distract Morga while he cycle charges with the Dragon Princes, which is of course really good play. Tyrion as well coming in for one final charge. Will he be able to bring down the Beast of Darkness? He should probably be able to at this point. He does have his buffs active, and yeah, Morga, the life struggles of being a Footlord is kind of getting rammed and pushed down. Cycle charge to death. And it looks like we even have a Foe Seeker popped just to rub it in the face of the Shadowgave, who does break a Pyrrhic victory for a really fun High Elf build. And yeah, that was pretty much as Pyrrhic as you can get. Tyrion's just left standing with some beat-up Dragon Princes and a beat-up Mage. Very well played to Lokir Felhard, who I believe is Golden Eagle. Apologies if that is wrong, but off the top of my head I feel like it is. And well played to Lincoln Lupin as well. I've kind of been a bit harsh on the Beastmen recently. I realise I pick up a lot of Beastmen losses, but you know, a lot do get sent in because they are the Beastmen, unfortunately. But really cool build from him. Lovely play early on, taking the initiative and getting a real big upper hand at one point. We had the Gorbel coming in with some lovely damage dealt, 4,400, 1.8k damage value, getting some glorious work there. And the Minotaurs themselves, 5,000 damage dealt, 1,400 damage value. Unfortunately, his Gore Herds were going to be what really let him down here, because they had no good targets. Yeah, you can chew through some Spearmen and Rangers, but the rest of his build could kind of do that anyway, and the Cavalry Corps really punished them quite heavily. Gorok's Man Ripper's been a good solid backbone until they broke at the death there. 9,000 damage dealt is pretty insane, 1,700 damage value. They got a little bit lost for a while, floating around the left-hand side of that battlefield, when they could have been used helping out the centre, but apart from that, it's really good stuff, and it pretty much came down to that Sunfang, which broke away a lot of the chaff, which was saturated in, helping Morga and the Man Rippers deal with the High Elves. And I think the Sunfang won the game. And overall, you can see Tyrion performed very well. Nearly 14,000 damage dealt and 3.5k damage value is pretty insane there by the defender. Lokir Felhard proving once and for all, Tyrion isn't quite as big a meme as some people make him out. He is a very good duelist and good chaff clear of the Sunfang. The one problem I have with him personally is he doesn't have huge mass even on his horse, and he can get pinned in and assassinated. We saw the Heart of Avalon there as well. Did pop and regen, but luckily he didn't break, because if he broke there, the Beastmen probably had enough speed simply to chase him off, which would have been very bad. Major Life just doing what Major Life does, healing up troops pretty much. And of course, Spearmen and Rangers going to get absolutely pittance of value and damage dealt, because that wasn't their job here. They were here to hold the enemy and allow the cavalry to do its work. And you can see across the board, they all did relatively decent. And I like this skirmish core here as well. These Illyrian Reavers not so well, but the Heralds of the Wind, very fast, almost impossible to catch. 7,000 damage dealt and 1,000 damage value. Impressive display from the Heralds. Dragon Princes gaining a couple of chevrons, 18,000 damage dealt, 2,700 damage value is wild. Now guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. We do drop content every single day and try to have a couple of streams every single week as well. If you want to see your replays up on the channel, feel free to join my Discord, and if you want to support, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description down below, and we do YouTube memberships and all that good standard YouTubey stuff. But anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.